Mr. Kendhammer, you understand you have an absolute constitutional right not to testify in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand that it's the state's burden to prove each and every element of the offense, and you don't have to do anything to defend yourself if you don't want to. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
You feel you've had enough time to talk to your attorneys to come up with your decision as to whether you should testify or not?
Yes.
Is that your decision?
It's my decision.
All right. Mr. Hurley, you'll be calling your next witness?
Yes, I'm Todd Kendhammer.
Under penalties of perjury, do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Please state your name. I think the reporter knows how to spell it.
Todd Allen Kendhammer.
How old are you, Mr. Kendhammer?
47.
And where were you born?
La Crosse, Wisconsin.
And were you raised in La Crosse?
Yes, I was.
Have you lived here all your life?
Yes, I have.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Logan High School, Logan Middle School.
And when did you graduate from high school?
1988.
What were the names of your parents?
Robert and Patricia Kendhammer.
And has your dad passed away?
Yes.
Is your mom still living?
Yes, she is.
Is she here in the courtroom?
She's sitting in the second row.
After high school, well, while you were in high school, did you become employed?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you become employed?
A1 Glass Company.
And what'd you do there when you were in high school?
I started cleaning, sweeping floors, washing vehicles, stuff like that.
And what year of high school did you start working there?
I started in my freshman year, 1984.
After you graduated high school, what'd you do?
I was employed full-time by A1 Glass.
And when you were employed full-time, what were your duties?
I started as an auto glass and residential glass installer and a shop technician.
So as a auto glass and residential glass installer, tell the jury about what those duties entail.
Well, an auto glass installer, A1 Glass both does mobile and shop auto glass. They cover a very wide range, so I was on the road a lot, just over the day, not overnight, installing windshields mobily for people that worked or didn't want to leave their home to get their glass put in.
After you served for a while, well, let me go back. For how long did you stay at A1?
I was at A1 8 to 10 years.
And while you were there, did you always just stay on as a glass installer?
No, I eventually became an officer in the company.
And what was your office in the company? Do you remember?
I don't remember what it was. For sure, I was shop manager, and then I got an office title or position.
Was there a time when you discussed becoming an owner of the company?
Yes.
And just very briefly, what was that about?
The owner at the time was wanting to sell out, retire, and I had another guy. He was going to be the office person. I was going to be the shop person, and we split the duties. And that's when we became officers in the company.
And did you eventually become an owner?
I did not become an owner.
And why was that?
The owner was having an affair with one of the office girls, and it was bringing the morale down of the company. And I, being the shop end of the company, brought it to the attention, and I got terminated.
After you left A1, where'd you go next?
I went to Glass Service Center in La Crosse.
And how long were you there?
I was there 3 years the first time.
And What'd you do there?
Same duties, auto glass, storefronts, residential glass, shop glass.
And you said you were 3 years the first time. What occasioned your leaving after 3 years?
There was the dad owned the company. There was 4 brothers involved in it, and they were buying the dad out. So it was 4 bosses that were there taking the position of 1. And it was too hard to work for 4 people that were in the company all at the same time.
So when you left, where'd you go after that?
From the first time I left Glass Service Center, I went to UPS.
And what'd you do for UPS?
I was a package delivery driver.
And how long were you there?
I was at UPS for 2 years, approximately 2 years.
And what occasioned your leaving there?
I had a family, I had young kids. We wouldn't start till 9 in the morning, 9:30 sometimes, and you wouldn't get done till 7:30 at night. And I didn't like for the family life, it wasn't for me.
So after you left there, where'd you go?
I went back to Glass Service Center.
And how long did you stay there?
A year.
And was it the same duties that you'd previously had there?
Yes.
And why'd you leave after a year?
Same reasons, just with the 4 people trying to run it, and I had a different job offer.
So where'd you go for that different job offer?
I went to Linex in West Salem.
And what is Linex?
It's a truck accessory spray-on bed liner.
Spray-on bed liner,
Yes.
did you say? And,
Yeah.
and what did you do there?
I dealt with customers, did the spray-on bed liners, put truck accessories on, stuff like that.
Did there come a time where your duties there began to change?
Yes. I had so many people wanting me to still do glass, and so I started a small glass shop out of the Linex building. I rented the spot from him.
And what did you do with that glass shop?
Everything, auto glass, primarily auto glass, but we did every kind of residential glass, storefront glass, and auto.
Did there come a time when you partnered with somebody else in this venture?
Yes, I did.
You want to tell the jury about that?
We lived in town at the time. The neighbor that I had at the time owned an exhaust shop in the south side of La Crosse. He knew I needed to expand. He came over one night and said, "Hey, I need to get out of La Crosse, the south side of La Crosse." So he asked if I would consider building a shop together with him. So we partnered up. With my equity and everything, we built a building in West Salem, and we combined the 2 businesses.
How long were you involved with that business?
I was involved with that business after we built the new building for about 3 years.
And after 3 years, did you leave?
Yes, I did.
Why'd you leave?
When he and I agreed to do the business, it was he and I, no wives. His wife started getting involved. We just had business differences, and so he brought me out.
And after that, where'd you go?
I went back to Glass Service Center for 1 more year.
And after a year, where did you go from there?
To Crown, Cork, and Seal.
And how long were you at Crown, Cork, and Seal as of September 16, 2016?
9 years.
What did you do at Crown, Cork, and Seal?
I started as a general laborer, which is just cleaning, running, chasing lines out when you're changing labels, painting, whatever, they just, helping out in the plant. And then I went up to spray machines. It's a progression job, so you got to work your way up in the plant. I went to spray machines, and then from there I got to become a line maintainer.
And what does a line maintainer do?
A line maintainer's primary duties are, we make aluminum pop cans, and they come in a roll of coil aluminum, and we punch it into a can, and then we decorate it to all the different Pepsi, Coke, whatever label we're doing that day. And I was running the decorator, and then if something would go down on the line, our duty was to, if we had 2 people in the decorator, one of us would leave to go get the line back up.
And when did you become the line maintainer?
April. Oh, it was 3 years. It took me 3 years to get fully progressed.
Okay. And at what point were you fully progressed in the position?
I want to say it was April of 2016.
And when you were fully progressed, did that entail getting a raise?
Yes.
And when you got that raise, what was your hourly rate?
On the day hourly rate, it was $29 an hour.
You say the day hourly rate, why?
Because nights was $1 more premium.
When you were working at Crown in that position, how many days on, how many days off did you have?
We worked a 4-on, 4-off schedule. So if you work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, you'd have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, and then you work Tuesday through Friday the following week. So every week you roll back a day in your schedule.
And were those 8-hour days?
There were 4 12-hour days.
Was overtime available?
Yes, it was.
And how does one get overtime?
It goes by how many days you've worked. So as far as when they come out to ask for overtime, if you were the low man on the pole, you would get asked first. And you could take 1 or all 4 days. You could take whichever days you want. The first 3 days were premium pay. It was time and a half. The last day was double time pay. So regardless of what day you took, you could take 1, 2, 3, or 4. You could take the first and last was real common.
Did you ever work overtime?
Yes, I did.
How frequently?
It would depend if it was in the middle of the week or not. Very seldom would I work a weekend for overtime.
Was there something there called shift cycle pay?
Just 1 second, Mr. Hurley. Somebody has their cell phone on. It needs to be confiscated. Turn it over to the deputy. Thank you. You may continue.
Was there something called shift cycle pay?
Yes, there was.
And what is that?
Well, at Crown, Cork, and Seal, because we run 24 hours a day, normally 365 days a year, you have an A crew and a B crew. And they're 12-hour shifts, so you work 6:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening, and that's a day shift, and that would be the Monday through Thursday to start. And then you'd have the Friday through Monday, which would be the B crew. Every other year you could switch nights to days, but every 2 years you could switch A crew to B crew. Every January, because nights and days would switch, you may get bumped nights to days. So if you got bumped from your normal shift, say I was on B1 and I got bumped to B2, if you didn't take it, they would offer you a day off between there. So you could cycle your pay and get through that, or you could work straight through. If you chose to work straight through, you got cycle pay. So you get all your overtime pay for the next week, which would be time and a half, time and a half, time and a half, and double time. So that's what cycle pay was.
There was a question asked of you during your interview at the La Crosse County Sheriff's Office, having to do with why you were calling in or intended to call in on the 16th of September in 2016. Do you recall those questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay. On the 16th of September in 2016, did you intend to call in?
Yes.
Now, what does it mean at Crown to call in?
If you don't get individual holidays, you have to take your vacations. You have to take your vacations in a cycle, which is your 4 days off, or your 4 days on would be your vacation time. So you can't use them individually.
Does that mean there was a minimum of 4 days which you had to claim as vacation if you took vacation?
Yes.
Could you take 1 day at a time?
No.
Was there a point system at Crown?
Yes, there was a point system.
And how did the point system work with respect to taking a day off?
Normally your day shift supervisor and night shift supervisor would come in an hour to an hour and a half early for their shift. If you wanted to call in for your shift, you normally would wait for your supervisor to come in, which was an hour and a half before your shift, or right at the start of the shift. So if you wanted to use a sick day, you'd call your night supervisor. They had a call line you could call, but it never got back to the supervisor, so we just called direct to the supervisor's office to call in for a sick day.
And if you called in for a sick day, did that give you a point?
If you called in within 2 hours of your shift, so if your shift started at 6:30 and you called in by 8:30, you got 1 point. If it was after 8:30, you got 2 points.
And how many points were you permitted to accumulate before there was any discipline?
At 5 points, you got a verbal warning. At 6 points, you got a written warning. At 7 points, you got a meeting pending suspension.
Why did you choose to call in a sick day on September 16th as opposed to taking a day off to which you might otherwise be entitled?
By taking the sick day versus the cycle off day, I would have got time and a half, and double time for my next 3 days.
And on September 16, was it your intention to come back to work on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday?
Yes.
Now, on September 16, were you working day shift or night shift?
I was on day shift.
There was some question of you during an interview about Barb being upset about your working night shifts. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
Was there about to be a time that you were going to go on the night shift?
Yes, there was.
Can you explain to the jury the circumstances of your going on the night shift?
Yes. As I explained, there's your seniority will hold you where your position is. There's certain times of the year when a new maintainer will be put into the pool, you may be bumped from one crew to the other to keep the crews even as far as knowledge and experience goes. Well, in this particular case, when I first got into maintainer group, I worked nights for a while because I couldn't hold seniority. In this particular case, was a younger fellow that was in the plant, got into maintainer. He had 2 very small children, and he had until January that he was going to be bumped to nights. And with the month's talk at the plant, it was going to very much inconvenience his daycare with these 2 little kids. So I went home and talked it over with my wife, and we were in the same situation at one time. And we said for them couple months, we could do the night thing. And we had agreed that I could take his position, let him stay in my day shift, and I would take the night position for those couple of months.
Was this something that Barb had agreed to?
Yes.
I want to talk to you about Barb. When did you meet Barb Kendhammer?
I met Barb in 1986.
And what was Barb's maiden name?
Barbara Carol Adams.
And by the way, are Barb's parents still alive?
Barb's mother is.
And is she here?
Yes, she is. She's sitting in the front row.
What were the circumstances, or under what circumstances did you meet Barb?
I was at her brother's wedding at the time when I met Barb.
And who was her brother?
David Adams, the guy sitting right next to Barb's mom and his mom.
And why were you at the wedding?
He married my cousin. David married my cousin Rhonda.
And tell the jury about meeting Barb on that day.
I wasn't a real outgoing, into sports and stuff. It was more of the, doing things in the shop and like that. And we went to the wedding because we have a very tight-knit family. And Barb was at her junior prom, and she came in with a couple of her friends. And when she walked in, I went to my cousin Rhonda and asked her who it was. There was something, just the way she was, I talked to her a little bit. It was a picture book saying, I mean, just one of these things where you know immediately, that's the girl you want. That's the girl I want to talk to. I want to get to know this girl. And that's the feeling that I had the first time I met Barb.
How old were you?
16. I told you I was 14, but I mistake that with when I started at A1 Glass.
And what year in school were you then?
1986.
Yeah, but sophomore or
Junior.
How long was it before you learned that Barb had a boyfriend?
I knew it right away.
How'd you know that?
I asked Rhonda.
And did that deter you in pursuing Barb?
No, because I wasn't pursuing her as a girlfriend at the time. I wanted to get to know her, see who she was, how she was. I had a feeling that I wanted to, but I did not pursue it like that at first.
So what'd you do?
Just hung out with her, did stuff together.
What kinds of things did you do together?
We went mud bogging, we went four-wheeling, snowmobiling, walking, talking, go down to Riverside, a lot of stuff like that. We had a lot of stuff in common.
For how long did you remain friends with her while she was dating another guy?
3 years.
Did there come a time when her relationship with the other guy ended?
Yes.
What happened then?
We still were, like we always were, friends and didn't get jump into nothing. It was shortly after that when we started dating. It was probably almost a year after that before we started dating.
When you started dating, did that change things?
Not really. It changed how I would talk to her and express to her, as far as, how, when you say you love her and like that, that changed. But the feelings I had for her, I mean, I didn't have to impress myself for her, and she didn't have to impress herself for me. We had a very mutual relationship.
Did there come a time when you asked her to marry?
Yes.
When was that?
Mid-1990.
And when were you married?
1991.
What was the day?
August 3rd.
Before I forget, are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
And was Barb left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Your Honor, we have marked exhibits 265 through 270, and I believe the prosecution and the defense have agreed that they're admissible.
Is that correct? Yes. 265 through 270
That's correct, Your Honor.
will be received.
I'll show you what's been marked as exhibit 265. Can you see that? That's better or worse? Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Who is that?
My wife and I.
And when was that taken? Approximately what year?
That was in 1988-89.
How can you remember that well?
It was in 89 because that's when I started dating her.
Do you remember what event that occurred?
Yes.
What event was it?
It was her birthday.
After you got married, did you have any children?
Yes. I had two.
2 children. What are their names?
Jessica and Jordan.
And how old is Jordan?
Jordan is 23.
And how old is Jessica?
Jessica is 24.
Is Jessica married?
Yes, she is.
And who did she marry?
Michael Service.
And how do you spell service?
Servivais.
And your son Jordan, is he married?
No, he's not.
Throughout this, has Jordan had a girlfriend?
He has, yes.
And what is her name?
Jordan.
So how do you distinguish between the two?
Boy Jordan, girl Jordan.
Does Jordan have a nickname as well?
Yes, he does.
And what's his nickname?
George.
Does girl Jordan share that nickname?
Yes, she does.
I'm going to show you a picture that is Exhibit 266. You recognize it?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Our Christmas card.
Do you know from about what year?
A year ago. For 2 years now.
Is that you and Barb in the center?
Yes, it is.
And who is that to the left in the picture?
So we'll have to be Jordan and Jordan.
And to the right, who is that?
Michael, Jessica, and Carlin.
And who's Colin?
Our granddaughter.
Last year, did you celebrate your 25th wedding anniversary with Barb?
Was it last year or 2 years?
Well, you've got to tell me. Last year was 2016.
Yes, so it was last year, yes.
I'm going to show you Exhibit 267. What's that?
Cake at our anniversary party.
Now, had you planned an anniversary party?
No,
How did that come about?
our kids and our moms and brothers, I think, were involved maybe, surprised us with a party.
And I'm going to show you Exhibit 268. Is that you and Barb?
Yeah, yes,
When was that taken?
at Michael and Jessica's wedding.
Show you Exhibit 269. Is that you and Barb?
Yes, yes.
When was that photograph taken?
After our anniversary party, we just took a drive and we went up to Superior and all around and just took a week and didn't make no plans, just went where we wanted to do, and we went hiking and did whatever we wanted to do.
And we're going to show you Exhibit 270. Who's that?
My wife and I and our granddaughter.
Were you pleased about having a granddaughter?
Yes, we were.
Having grandchildren's not a bad gig, is it?
No, it's not.
What kind of things, well, let me withdraw that and ask it different. I'd like for you to describe for the jury a typical day for you and Barb in 2016.
If I worked or if I was off.
What would be typical?
Well,
Let's do one of each.
okay. If I didn't work, I always got up with Barb when she was getting ready. I would help. I'd make oatmeal. If she was going to eat breakfast, she'd eat oatmeal or yogurt or honey and toast. And I would always make that when she got close to being ready. I would always make her breakfast for her. We'd get ready. We'd talk a little bit if she was ready early. I would take her to work, and then I would do different things while she was at work. And when she got done with work, if she had something that she didn't like at work for lunch that day, we'd always go get a little snack or something after work, and then we'd either go home, take a walk, go home, make supper, go home, mow lawn, go home and eat supper, and then go get ice cream, And we'd sit down, maybe take another walk after dinner, and then we'd just watch a little TV and go to bed. If I worked, when she got done with work, I would always get up with her in the morning still, but I would be gone before she'd get ready and stuff. I always called her. I knew when her breaks were, so I would either take break when her breaks were and call her, text her, or when she got done with work, I'd always call her a little bit after 2 o'clock, see how her day was and talk and stuff. She always had a big dinner made when I got home. Always had something big to eat. It wasn't ever, a frozen meal or like that. It was always something. She loved to cook. I'd come home from work, we'd eat dinner. Usually we'd take a walk, and then that would be our night. Sometimes we'd go for ice cream, but usually when I was off work, we'd do the ice cream thing. That was our usual routine.
In 25 years of marriage, except when you were each at work, were you ever apart?
Very seldom.
Can you remember what times you might have been apart that you weren't at work?
Well, deer hunting was the only time I was, there was 11 of us that went deer hunting in a cabin. And
you say 11 of us. Who would these people be? Are they relatives or friends?
Yes, all relatives. My brother and his kids, my son Jordan, another cousin and their kids. It was all family. We'd go deer hunting Friday. We'd go over to the cabin, get a fire, make some dinner or something, drink a little beer, whatever. Well, Friday night, I would go home for an hour or two, just talk to Barb, see how her day was. And if she had dinner, I'd eat a little bit with her. If she didn't, she'd go to the holiday fair or something. And then I'd go back over to deer camp. And then Saturday night, I would go home again. But I was away from her all day.
Did the other married men in the party do this too?
No. Nope.
Were they very understanding of your going home on deer hunting weekend?
It was deer camp, I had to put the shoulder pads on. I got a lot of grief for it, but I did it for 25 years and never had a problem with it.
Other than deer camping when you were at work, were you ever apart from her?
No.
Did you do everything together?
Yes, we did.
If you had to shovel snow, what would she do?
She'd be right there with me.
If you had to mow the lawn, what would she do?
She'd pick up the weed eater and weed eat right with me.
If you were, by the way, I didn't ask before, did you, after you went to Crown, did you continue to work in auto glass?
Yes.
Is this something you did on the side?
Yes.
If you were replacing someone's auto glass, would Barb be there with you?
Yes, she would. We did everything in shop. In-house, I mean.
Were there things you did for Barb that were unusual?
Yes.
What were those things?
I would, if it snowed, I would take her car down, halfway down the driveway for her so she didn't have to go on the steep part at the top. And if I was home, I would actually take her down, take her to work. But if I had to work, I'd take her car halfway down and leave it there, and she had remote start, so she wouldn't have to go down the driveway by herself. Barb was a real clean freak, and a big pet peeve of Barb's was when guys stood up to pee, and I respected her enough to sit down at home to pee.
For 25 years?
Yes, I did for 25 years.
Did you always vacation together?
Yes.
If you went to the grocery store, did you go to the grocery store together?
Yes.
If you went to the bank, did you go to the bank together?
Unless she went after work, yes, I went with her.
Did you go for drives together?
Yes.
How frequently did you do that?
We did it when I first met Barb. Her mom and dad went for drives almost every Sunday, and we went a lot with them. And when Barb's dad passed away, we kind of continued the tradition. Her brother would go with sometimes, and we went for drives quite often.
Did you go camping together?
Yes.
How frequently did you camp?
We camped quite often in the summer.
Did you both enjoy camping?
Yes, very much.
Let me just ask you briefly, because I'll come back to it. We heard in interviews of you reference to Cranfest.
Yes.
Can you tell the jury, if they don't know already, what Cranfest is and what it was for you and Barb?
Cranfest is a yearly event in Warren, Wisconsin. It's thousands and thousands of craft people. There's different foods, but it's mainly all crafts. The whole town of Warren shuts down for Cranfest. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal. And then every year Sunday, they have a big parade. Barb's family went even before I met Barb. And when I met Barb, it was something that we started doing. Cranfest for us was a yearly thing. We went up the weekend before because we stayed in the county park. And if you didn't get up there beforehand, you wouldn't get a campsite. So we always went up the week before to set up camp and have the camper there, and we'd leave it all week.
Is this something you did alone with Barb, or did you do it with other couples?
We did it with several other couples.
Were the couples all family, or was it family and friends?
There was some friends, but mostly family.
And the weekend of September 16 in 2016, was that Cranfest, or was it the weekend before Cranfest?
The weekend before.
And on that day, was it your intent? Tell the jury what you intended to do that day.
Normally what we do is, anytime we go camping, when Barb's done getting ready, she'll put all her bathroom stuff in a little tote and either leave it in the bathroom on the counter or in the hallway. I'll take her to work. I'll get everything else tidied up, and either I'll take the camper down and pick her up from work and we'll go, or I'll go down and pick her up. She'll come put the last few things in the camper, and then we go. That's how we normally do it on a camping weekend.
And did you intend to call in within 2 hours of the commencement of your shift that day?
Yes, I've always called in if I was going to call in within 2 hours.
Let me ask you something about yours and Barb's finances in 2016. You recall being asked about that on the day before Barb's funeral?
Yes.
How much, what was your, on September 16, 2016, what was your annual salary from Crown?
$85,000.
And did Barb work full-time at the school?
It was considered part-time because it was only 9 months out of the year, and it was only 6 hours a day.
And if you annualized her salary at the school, approximately what would that have been in 2016?
$15,000.
Did you have a house payment?
Yes, we did.
Do you remember roughly what that house payment was?
$402. $402, yes.
Did you have any car payments?
We did. We had one car payment.
And do you remember roughly what that was?
$248.
Other than the payment on your house and your car, did you have any other regular payments?
Just our bills, NSP and stuff.
And you were asked about bills that the police were finding as they were searching your home. Who, as between you and Barb, took on the responsibility to pay bills as they came in?
Barb did.
Now, did the two of you sit down and talk about finances?
Yes.
How frequently did you do that?
Well, anytime there was if I got a raise or a new bill come into the factor, we're on a budget every month. Every week, every month, we had a budget.
Did you budget yourselves?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Barb took care of all the house finances as far as anything that occurred with the house. And anytime something new, like when we bought the car, we'd sit down with the budget, and we had mad money, we had grocery money, and we'd sit down and say, okay, if you want to take the extra money we're putting on the house, a little bit of that, and put on the car, and that's how we would do it.
When you say extra money you're putting on the house, what do you mean extra money?
We always paid ahead on everything.
So on September 16, 2016, were you paid ahead on your mortgage?
Yes, we were just over a year ahead.
And were you paid ahead on your automobile?
Yes, we were just over a year ahead.
There was some testimony. Well, let me withdraw that. Do you know what it means to flip a house?
Yes.
What does it mean?
You go in and purchase a house, hopefully at a lower price, remodel it, do what you want to do, and then sell it to make money on it.
And did you ever do that?
Yes, we did.
I asked you if you did, and you said, yes, we did. Is this something you did with Barb?
Yes.
Tell the jury a little bit generally about what you and Barb did together with respect to these houses.
The first one we did was a complete foreclosure. We go together, we'd look at it, we determined if it was probable or not, the neighborhood and stuff. And then Barb was my, tear this wall out, tear that wall out, we'll do this, we'll do that. And then we determined if we wanted to purchase it and how much we wanted to pay for it. And if it was something we could get, and we did, then we worked together on it, on demo and remodel. And she would always tidy everything up with, like staging it and colors and like that.
How many times did you do this?
We did 6 houses.
And I believe I heard in the interview of you at the sheriff's office that one was a new home?
Yes, 2 of them were new homes.
And when you say new home, does this mean that you built them from the ground up?
Yes.
Each time that you did this, were you successful in making a profit?
We weren't out to get rich off it. It was more of a hobby to keep us together and do things together. And we would make a little bit of money off them, yes.
On September 16, 2016, how would you rate your credit?
Well, I had a $450,000 line of credit at one bank. And at the credit union we could walk in and if we wanted to buy a new car or whatever we wanted. It wasn't a problem. We had no problem with anything.
On all those occasions that you were either remodeling or building a new home, did you have to go to the bank to get credit in order to remodel?
No, we just had to call and tell them what we were doing.
And would they give you the loan?
Yes.
Were you ever turned down for a loan?
No.
On September 16, 2016, did you ever perceive that you and Barb were in financial difficulty?
No.
I want to turn your attention to the lunchroom at Crown. How many folks were on your shift?
25 to 28.
And was that true for the whole time you were at Crown, that you'd have approximately that number of people on your shift?
Yes.
Do you get to know the people on your shift pretty well?
Yes.
How frequently do they have breaks at Crown?
Well, some of them are on or off.
And when breaks are taken, where do people take their breaks?
Either in the lunchroom or the locker room.
And at lunchtime, where do people take their lunch?
Some take it in the lunchroom, very few take it in the locker room.
Is there a lot of talk in the lunchroom?
It's all talk.
Do you recall a time in 2016 when you had a conversation with people in the lunchroom at Crown about a windshield?
Yes, I do.
What is it you remember about that?
Well, the windshield had been sitting in the garage at home, so I needed to get rid of it. So I went into...
Let me stop you there. Why was it sitting in the garage at home?
I had ordered it for one of Jordan's friends, and something happened with the truck, and he couldn't afford the windshield in it. So I had it sitting in the garage.
And was it past the time that you could?
I could not return it, no.
And when you say it was sitting in the garage, how many garages did you have?
We have an attached garage, and then we have a detached garage.
And which garage was it sitting in?
It was in the attached garage.
And why was it there?
Because the detached garage is kind of our place to, I was painting a skid steer at the time. And we paint and grind and weld over there.
And were you concerned about damaging the windshield if it was in the detached garage?
Yes.
Who claimed title to the attached garage?
Barb.
And why is that?
She always washed her car. We always waxed her car in there. That's where you came in when you went up to the house. You'd come through that garage. And we had the floor all epoxied, and it was always kept pretty nice, pretty clean.
Did the fact that that windshield was there for some time bother Barb?
It concerned her, yes, because she would have to move it. She always squeegeed the floor. We'd wash it and squeegee the floor. And when we do that, we'd do all the way out to the perimeters of the floor. And with the windshield sitting there, I had a little rug that it would sit on. And she would have to have me move it, or she would try to move it. So yes, it did concern her.
Did there come a time when she asked you to get rid of it?
Yes.
And when was that in relation to September 16 of 2016?
It was a while before. I mean, it was. She mentioned it that day or 2 days before or something, but it was a month or two before that she'd mentioned it too.
When she mentioned things to you like that, did you always address what concerned her?
I tried to.
You said that she mentioned it 2 days before the 16th?
I can't say for sure what day it was.
But you thought she also mentioned it a couple months before?
Yes.
As a result of whatever she said a couple months before, did you have a conversation in the lunchroom at Crown?
Yes, I did.
And what was that about?
Well, Crown consists of mostly, there's a lot of people at Crown that drive trucks. I would say probably 40% of the employees drive trucks. And I went into Crown, the lunchroom, and mentioned that I had this windshield I wanted to get rid of. And that's how the conversation came up.
Who do you recall was present that day?
I know for sure Justin Heim, Scott Torgerson for sure, and there was a couple other people, but I don't recall who they were.
And what is it that today you can recall about that conversation?
That Justin Heim engaged that he had somebody or was going to put it in for somebody, and he made the comment that any monkey could put a windshield in with urethane. And after he left the lunchroom, Scott Torgerson had brought it up that he knew somebody, and he mentioned somebody.
Do you remember the name of the person he mentioned?
It was Jerry Logging.
And is that something you remembered on September 16, 2016?
No.
Did there come a time when you moved that windshield out of the attached garage?
Yes.
When was that?
It was shortly after the accident.
And why'd you move it?
Because there was so many people coming to the house, and we were kind of congregating and stuff in the garage, and I just moved it over there so it wouldn't get broke.
When you say moved it over there, over where?
To that detached garage.
And on the day that the police executed the search warrants, where was that windshield?
I don't know. I don't remember. I moved it to the other garage, so it had to be in the detached garage.
Did you eventually get rid of it?
No.
I want to talk to you about the night before the accident on September 15th. Had you worked that day?
Yes, I did.
What time did you get off work?
6:30.
Did you have an exchange of text messages with your son-in-law, Michael Service?
Yes, I did.
What was that about?
Putting up a piece of sheetrock for him.
And why were you putting up a piece of sheetrock for him? What were they doing?
Well, we did a remodel on their kitchen and garage and added on to the living room area and the end of the kitchen and the garage.
Whose house was this on?
Michael and Jess.
Okay. When you say we did it, who's we?
Well, Michael and I and Barb and Jess.
And what do you remember texting him that on September 15th?
I don't remember what I texted him.
Do you remember what he texted you back?
Something to the effect that, don't worry about it, he would get it. It was about a piece of sheetrock.
Do you remember what you did that evening?
I went and put the piece of sheetrock up.
And after you put the piece of sheetrock up, what'd you do?
I don't remember. I went home.
When you came home at night, what was the usual routine with you and Barb in the evening after eating dinner?
If it was nice out, we'd go for a walk.
If it wasn't nice out, what would you do?
Watch TV, clean up and watch TV.
Anything unusual happen on the evening of the 15th that you can recall?
No.
Now, at that time, was your son Jordan attending school?
Yes, he was.
And where was he going to school?
UW Stevens Point.
And on that weekend of September 16, 17, 18, where was he?
He was home.
And when did he come home?
Thursday night.
So did he sleep in the house on Thursday night?
Yes.
And was he there in the morning on Friday morning?
Yes.
When you got up on September 16, what time did you get up?
Our usual time to get up was, I think, 6 o'clock.
Okay. What'd you do when you got up? What was your normal morning routine?
I would always get in the shower first while she was getting stuff ready. And it didn't take me long, so I'd be done. And then she would get in the shower. I would, like I say, start tinkering with breakfast for her. And then when she got done, she'd come out, eat a little breakfast, we'd talk a little bit, and then we'd get in the car and go.
I know it's difficult sometimes to remember specific days, but on that morning, do you recall doing anything really out of the ordinary?
Just, we were messing with some stuff for the camper. Just getting some little things ready, putting the camper.
And do you recall anything concerning a plumber on that day?
I had Les Abel coming to look at my mother-in-law as well.
What was wrong with your mother-in-law as well?
Well, the pump kept kicking on, and we thought something was wrong with the pressure switch or something with one of the lines coming in.
And who arranged for a plumber to come and look at it?
I had arranged for Les Abel to come and look at it.
And what time was he coming out that day?
He had a job in Maderi that he had to go to first, and when he was done with that, he was going to call me and come over and look at it. So we didn't have a set time.
Did you communicate with your mother-in-law that morning?
Yes, I called my mother-in-law that morning and told her that he was coming sometime today.
I want to talk to you for a minute about Barb's mom, your mother-in-law. Where'd she live?
We lived up on the hayfield on the home. They have a little 30-acre hobby farm, and we had 2.8 acres. We built the house up on the hayfield just above where her mom lives. And her brother lived just up the road a little bit on the same one of the parcels.
So you and Barb's mom and Barb's brother all lived in the same vicinity?
Yes.
And how old is Barb's mom? And I apologize for being indelicate when I know she's in the courtroom.
Her mom would be 86.
Did you and Barb take on any responsibilities with respect to her mom?
Yes.
What were those responsibilities?
We would help with the lawn, help shovel snow, take her grocery shopping. Barb did all her bills. Anything that, if it was wintertime, her brother worked for the county, so he was gone a lot when it snowed. So we'd go on and shovel her walk and stuff.
And did Barb's brother Dave also take on responsibilities with respect to his mom?
Yes.
How frequently did you and Barb call her mom?
Every day.
And did you call or did Barb call?
I called that morning.
But usually who called?
Usually it would be Barb calling.
Were the number of times that you called Barb's mom infrequent, or were they frequent?
It was frequent.
So that morning, why did you call Barb's mom?
Because I had the well guy coming. And I wanted to tell her that I had him coming so she knew it was taken care of.
Was it your intention to drive Barb to work that morning?
Yes, it was.
Now, did Barb usually drive to work by herself?
Not if I was off for the day. A lot of times I would take her.
And on that day, did you choose to do something on the way to taking Barb to work?
Yes, we did.
And what did you decide to do?
We were going to take a quick jog over Highway M and see if we could find that blue Ford pickup.
You heard all the tapes of your interviews that were played in the courtroom, is that correct?
Yes.
And you recall on at least one of those tapes telling people that you were looking for Justin Himes' place.
Yes.
Do you recall saying that you were headed to Holman?
Yes.
Do you recall another time saying that you were looking for a place near Long Coulee?
Yes.
Do you recall another time saying that you were looking for someone near Shufflebine Hill?
Yes.
So let me ask you, right? Is Long Coulee the same as Shufflebine Hill?
No, it's not.
Is Holman the same as Long Coulee?
Yes.
Is Holman the same as Shufflebine Hill?
No.
And do you know where Justin Heim lives?
No, I do not.
Why'd you say Justin Heim, Long Coulee, Holman?
When I watched those tapes and I watched that video, that's not me. It's me in the picture, but it's not me talking. It's not right state of mind talking in that. I wasn't thinking of where I was going or what I was doing. I was thinking of Barb.
Where were you headed that day, or where did you think you were headed?
To the bottom of the or the Shufflebine Hill on the West Salem side.
How far is the bottom of Shufflebine Hill from the intersection of Highway M and Burgham Coulee?
I couldn't tell you. It's not, you mean in minutes or miles or?
Either one.
I would say it's maybe 8 to 10 minutes.
And if one were going northbound on Highway M would one be going in the direction of Shufflebine Hill?
Yes.
What is that?
It's our bubble mug.
We heard some testimony from one of Barb's co-workers about Barb having a preference for well water.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So tell the jury how that would manifest itself with Barb.
Well, it was either ice mountain water or our well water. If you went out of town somewhere, we always had to buy a case or two of ice mountain water. When we went camping, we'd either take well water out of the fridge or we'd buy a gallon of ice mountain water. Common example, when we go to Black River area, we'd always stop at the Senex right there on C in Black River, and they never had ice mountain water. So she would maybe get a tea if she couldn't get ice mountain water. It had to be ice mountain or well water.
And when she drank the water, the well water, what would she drink it out of?
The Bubba mug.
Now, is that the only Bubba mug that you guys had?
No, it's not.
How many did you have?
We have 3 of these, and I have a camouflage one that was the first one we initially got.
And did you get the camouflage one for yourself?
Yes.
How long were you able to hold on to it?
Oh, the camouflage one is probably 5 or 6 years old.
Well, what I meant by my question was, how long did you have it before it was taken away from you?
Well, she took it to work every day. She used to take a little glass, and the ice wouldn't stay in it. So then she started taking my camouflage Bubba mug.
And then after a while, did you get other ones?
Yes, it was a wrap that was on it, and from being washed and so old, the wrap was getting real faded. So we bought the silver and blue ones, or gray and blue ones.
Tell the jury about where she would take this with her.
Well, she took it to work every day. I would make if she was getting ready, I would make the water in there, put the ice in it for her, get it ready to go. If she went to work and forgot it, a lot of times she would call and see if I could pick it up for her and take it back to her. If we went on a ride, she would fill that mug and take it with us on a Saturday or a Sunday. She wouldn't take it out for dinner and stuff like that. But anytime we went for a ride or to work, she always had that mug.
And what would she do with it?
Sip on water.
When you say sip, did she wait until she was really thirsty and then sip?
No, she would just sip on it here and there. I don't think she ever finished it all.
Now, when you were riding in the Camry with her, was there a cup holder big enough for that?
No,
So where would she hold it usually?
she always had it on her lap.
Besides Barb's mom and her brother Dave, who else lived near you?
It'd be Joyce's nephew,
And who's that?
Doug and Diane Adams.
And who else lived near you?
Well, you mean as far as neighbors?
Yes.
Tom Harrelson, Barb Thompson, Kevin Bradbury.
And I'd like to ask you about Barb Thompson for a minute.
Okay.
Where'd she live?
She lived just back to Cooley a little bit from us. We live on a Cooley Road, and she lived just back to Cooley Road a little bit.
And how far away is that?
Well, her land joined our land right on the road. It wasn't very far.
When you say you lived on a Cooley Road, these folks are from La Crosse and probably know, but just in case, what's a Cooley Road?
A coulee road is a little branch of a road that comes off one of the main roads. There was 5 houses on this coulee road. And it's just a dead end road is what it is.
Now, what was your relationship with your neighbor, Barb Thompson?
Her husband got sick probably 10 years ago, and Jordan and I and several other people had hunted back there for years. And when her husband got sick, we started helping them with the lawn. They had a big lawn, and we helped them with the driveway, and just got to know him real well with that by helping him out and stuff. When her husband did pass, she always took care of the lawn then, but we did the driveway for her every winter. And then when she'd go away, we'd watch her house for her.
And was she gone often?
Yes.
Do you know where she would go?
She'd go to Africa for a while, and then she had 3 kids that got married and had grandkids, so she'd bounce around from their houses.
On September 16, September 16 of 2016, had you engaged in discussions with Barb Thompson about the future of her property?
I don't know if it was September, but it was prior to that, yes.
Okay. Tell the jury a little bit about what your discussions were with Mrs. Thompson.
We, as far as, repeat the question.
Well, did you talk to her about maybe buying the property?
Okay. So, Barb Thompson had her property at the tree farm, and their main goal was her and her husband were going to retire off the tree farm. That was going to be their retirement. Her husband passed away, got sick with cancer and passed away. She was there alone. She tried keeping it up, but then when her kids one was in South Carolina, one was they were all split up. She had suggested selling the property, and the person that was initially going to buy it backed out. So Barb and I, my wife and I, were the next one on the list to purchase it. And our initial goal was, there was 87 acres there. We're going to fix the house up, remodel it, sell the house, and keep the 80 acres of land, is what our initial goal was.
And did she permit you to keep items that you owned on her property?
Yes.
You want to tell the jury what that arrangement was?
Well, she had a few things in the garage. She had 2 garages there, a big garage and a smaller, like a metal garage. She didn't have a lot of stuff left in the garages. She didn't have much stuff left in the house. And she made the arrangement that if we wanted to use the garage, because we had pull-behind mowers for the 4-wheeler and snow plows and all that stuff. So she made the arrangement that if we wanted to put stuff in the garages, in the big garage, we could and use it. But there was no lock on it. So we had quite a bit of stuff in the garage.
On September 16, 2016, was she at home or was she gone?
She was gone.
And for how long had she been gone?
I couldn't tell you.
Do you know how long she was going to still be away?
No.
When she was gone, would you often check on the property?
Yes.
And regardless of whether she was gone, did you occasionally check on the property that you kept at her place?
Yes.
Why would you check on it?
Because it's around the corner of the coulee road, and there's no lock on the door, on the garage doors, and we had quite a bit of stuff in the garage of value.
So on the morning of September 16, 2016, did you have any intention to stop at her place?
We did stop there.
What time do you believe you and Barb left the house on September 16th?
Quarter to 8.
Is that an approximation, or do you remember?
It's an approximation.
1 second. Mr. Kendhammer, can you hand me that exhibit? I'll put it back. Continue.
What'd you do after you set up?
We left the house. We stopped back there for a very brief time, and we started going down the road and talking, and
When you say stop back there,
to Barb Thompson's.
and what'd you do at Barb Thompson?
I got out and ran over and checked the garage.
Was everything okay?
Yes. Then
Then what'd you do?
got back in the car, went over to the house,
What'd you do at the house?
just made sure nothing was broke around the house. One winter she had a window blowout, and it froze all her pipes, so she had to have all new plumbing put in. So we just kind of just checked, make sure nothing's broke or nobody got in, because the house is locked.
After you checked the garage in the house or the shed in the house, what'd you do?
We got in the car and headed down the road.
And where were you headed?
We were headed over to Shufflebine Hill.
And what route did you take?
We went down County C to Osmus Road to County M.
How fast were you driving? Well, I should ask, do you remember how fast you were driving?
No.
How fast do you usually drive on that road?
It depends where it is. I mean, there's some sharp curves on it and stuff, but normally I do 55, 58.
Have any reason to think you weren't driving as you normally would, driving down Highway M on that particular day?
Because of the rain and the overcast and the fog, probably not so fast.
And is that what you recall about the weather that day?
Yes.
Did there come a time when you were on Highway M that you saw something unusual?
Yes.
And what was it that you saw?
I don't remember what it was. I thought it was a bird. I thought it was a pipe.
Well, when you were present in the courtroom when all the interviews of you were played, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall when you were first asked what happened, you said a pipe came through the windshield?
Yes.
And was that true? Did a pipe come through the windshield?
Yes, it is.
Did you hear yourself also say at various points you thought you saw a bird?
Yes.
Okay, and I want to ask you about this. Did you in fact think at some point that you thought you saw a bird?
Yes, I did.
How is it that, well, does a bird roll off of a moving truck?
No.
How is it that you thought you saw a bird, but it became a pipe rolling off a moving truck?
Because I didn't think a pipe could fly.
And after it came through the windshield, did you know what it was?
I did not immediately.
When did you perceive what it was?
I don't know.
You recall hearing testimony last week about where police officers estimated you had said the pipe came through.
Yes.
When you spoke to the police officers and answered their questions about everything that happened that day, including where your car was when the pipe came through, were you trying to be honest with them?
Yes.
What were you feeling that day?
I was feeling very emotional. I was feeling that I needed to get to Barb.
If I asked you today to tell me exactly where you were when that pipe came through the windshield, would you be able to do that?
No.
Could you approximate it?
I could approximate.
When you saw what you thought was a bird, what did you do?
I lunged forward.
You say you lunged forward. Can you show the jury what you did that day?
I can I can try to. I can't guarantee it.
When you lunged forward, were you even thinking about it?
No.
So, as best you can, what did you show the jury what you did? And by the way, were you belted into your seat?
No.
Was Barb belted into her seat?
I don't remember.
What was Barb's usual practice?
She always wore her seatbelt. I never wear mine. We always talked about it because my son doesn't wear his because of me. And she always said I should start wearing mine so he would wear his.
But you never did.
No.
Show the jury.
It was, I had the hands on the wheel, and I lunged like this.
Do you know if you were fully seated when you did that, or whether you rose out of your seat?
I don't know.
Do you know what your right hand was doing?
I do not know.
Do you recall in the interviews that were played that at one point you said you lunged with both hands?
I do recall that.
Do you recall that at one point you said your right hand was on the steering wheel?
I do recall that.
Do you recall which it was?
I do not recall.
After you lunged, tell the jury what happened.
After I lunged, the pipe come through the windshield. Everything happened so fast. Barb started flailing and moving around. And I was to the coulee road, so I quick turned onto the coulee road. And I thought I put the car in the park, but I apparently put it in the reverse. And that's how I ended up in the ditch the way I did.
Do you know how long that took?
I do not.
Do you recall looking at Barb during that time that you were still driving?
Yes.
What do you recall seeing?
All I can recall is I had to reach out to push her back up. She kept trying to come over towards me.
And do you recall with which hand you reached out?
My right hand.
Do you recall anything else?
No.
Do you recall in the interviews you said she was flailing around?
Yes.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
How was she flailing around?
She was almost like she was limp. Like she had no control of her muscles.
When you got over to the side or the berm of the road on Bergham Coulee, did you intend to put the car in park?
Yes.
And I believe you said you put it in reverse instead?
Yes.
Do you recall the shift of the car going into reverse?
No, I do not.
Do you recall how quickly, if at all, you stopped it from going into reverse?
No, I do not.
What if anything, do you remember next?
I remember getting out of the car. I walked around the back of the car. I opened her door, and she was leaning forward, and the door wouldn't stay open.
You said the door wouldn't stay open. Were you between the door and Barb?
Yes.
And what was the door doing?
It wouldn't. It wanted to keep coming shut on me.
And what was your intent in being at the car door?
I wanted to get Barb out. She wasn't moving at the time.
Do you remember whether you were able to see whether she was breathing or not?
No, I do not. I don't remember.
So tell the jury what you recall you did.
I opened the door, door kept wanting to shut. The pipe was hanging there. I don't know how many times I tried to jar the door open. I couldn't get the door to stay open. The pipe was in the way. I reached under, I had to get rid of the pipe, so I don't know if I threw the pipe or set it down. I don't know what I did with the pipe, but I got it out of the way. I tried to reach under Barb to lift her out of the car. And I couldn't. It was on the incline in the mud in the door. I couldn't get under her to get her out. Something was caught. So I jarred the door open. I don't know how it stayed open, but it finally stayed open. And I got a hold of her. I got a hold of Barb. And I tried to pull her out, and something was caught.
Do you remember how you got hold of her?
All I know is I got around her because I couldn't get her out. Something was caught on her in the car.
When you said I got around her, you folded your arms.
She wasn't a very big person.
So did you reach around her with both arms?
Yes.
And when you reached around her, do you recall whether you were front to front or back to front?
I don't recall.
So what'd you do next?
I tried to take her out. I think I tried to take her out nicely, but I couldn't get her out. Something caught. So I gave a tug. And when I did, we fell backwards. And she landed on me, and I rolled her off of me. And I started doing CPR on her.
And when you fell backwards, where were you located?
Well, I was, my feet were right at the foot of the front of the door, right in the bank, so I fell straight backwards from there.
So would your heads have been near the right rear wheel?
Yes.
You said you rolled her off and began to give CPR, correct?
Yes.
When you fell backwards, was she on top of you?
Yes.
What kind of CPR did you begin to give her?
Chest compressions.
At some point, you called 911, is that correct?
Yes.
Why didn't you call them immediately?
I don't know.
Do you remember what you were thinking?
No.
Do you remember even having a thought process at that time?
No.
We heard the 911 calls. Do you recall there came a time when you said something to the effect of, wait, I have to do something with her?
Yes.
What did you do with her?
I moved her.
How did you move her?
When we come out of the car and fell, I rolled her off the side of me a little bit towards the car, and it was just a little bit of an incline in the berm in the ditch. And when I started doing CPR, she started bleeding more.
Where was she bleeding from?
Out of her nose and mouth, and it started out of her ear. So that's apparently when I had thought to call 911. And when I did, I realized that she was tipped down a little bit, and I needed to turn her. I thought maybe that's why she was starting to bleed more.
How did you turn her?
I don't recall.
In what direction did you turn her?
I turned her head towards the road.
In order to turn her head towards the road, did you have to move her body?
Yes.
Do you have any recollection of how you moved her body?
I do not.
At some point during that second 911 call, you scream at the 911 operator that the responder has gone past you.
Yes.
Could you see the responder?
No.
How did you know the responder had gone past you?
I heard him go by.
And when you say you heard him go by, did he have a siren?
Yes.
recall the testimony of Randy Erler,
Yes,
who said that he drove past your car on Bergham Cooley Road that morning?
yes,
Did you see him go past your car?
no,
Until the first responder arrived, was anybody other than you and Barb near the automobile?
no,
And until the first responder arrived, did you remain with Barb?
yes,
And did you remain in the ditch?
yes,
Did you take her head and bash it against the wheel rim?
no,
Did you take a pipe and beat her with it in any way?
no,
Did you take that Bubba mug and smash her in the face with it?
no,
Did you take any item, whether it was an object or your fist, and hit Barb?
no.
Have you ever hit Barb?
Never raised my voice to Barb. Never hit her either.
You were asked in the interview at the La Crosse County Sheriff's Office numerous times to explain the injuries that she had that day. Do you recall that?
Yes,
And do you recall that you were unable to do so?
yes,
You a physician,
no,
accident reconstructionist,
no,
you a biomechanic,
no,
you pathologist,
no,
do you know how she got all of the injuries on her body?
from the accident, from the accident that day.
From the scene of the accident, Your Honor, I have much more. Do you want to take a break now, or should
It's a good time. We can take our noon recess now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our noon recess until about 1 o'clock. Don't talk about the case. Enjoy your lunch. And Mr. Hurley, you may continue with your direct examination of Mr. Kendhammer.
Thank you. Mr. Kendhammer, I asked you a question this morning about the distance to Shufflebine Hill, and I don't know if I was specific enough, so let me just go back there. From your home to Shufflebine Hill, in minutes, how long would it take to get there in an automobile?
Maybe 8 to 10 minutes.
From County Highway M and Bergham Cooley Road, how long would it take to get to the bottom of Shufflebine Hill in an automobile?
From where on County M? From
At the intersection of County M and Bergham Cooley.
maybe a minute or two.
Back on September 16 of last year, did you know anyone who lived on Bergham Cooley Road?
Yes, I did.
Who did you know that lived on Bergham Cooley Road?
I know Steve and Kathy Petronic and Ryan and Cassie Rothering.
What's the last name?
Rothering?
Rothering? While you were with Barb on that day on Bergham Cooley Road, was there ever a time that you opened the trunk of your vehicle?
I don't remember.
When you got to the hospital, eventually, Was there ever a time that you left the hospital until Barb passed away?
No.
Where were you in the hospital?
It was either in her room with her or out in the waiting area.
Who else was present in the hospital with you?
I couldn't name all the people.
During that time when you were with her in the hospital, did you ever hold her hand?
Yes,
How frequently did you do that?
quite a bit.
Did your children ever hold her hand?
Yes,
Did medical personnel ever touch her hands?
yes.
Why didn't you leave her side?
I did once in a while when the medical people would come in and do something. They would ask me to leave.
Did you sleep at the hospital?
I didn't sleep, but I stayed there.
Did there come a time when personnel at the hospital told you that there was nothing more they could do?
Yes,
Who informed you of this?
I don't recall the doctor's name.
Do you recall what you were told?
Not exactly.
Did you ask for a second opinion?
There was several specialists there at the time.
And did you talk to them as well?
I spoke to one of them.
And do you recall what you were advised?
I could not say exactly no.
Did there come a time when you learned that her brain would not recover from the insult?
Yes,
Were you asked to make a decision about whether to unhook her from machines that were keeping her alive?
no,
Was that just done?
yes,
Did there come a time when, prior to that being done, you were given time to be with her?
yes.
And in that time, what did you do?
I just talked to her and held her hand and gave her a kiss. And
When you talked to her, what did you say?
I told her that I loved her too. And I'd always take care of her mom.
You said, I love you too?
Yes,
Why did you say, I love you too?
because Barb and I knew each other so well that we didn't say I love you and I love you because we always said it together, so it was always a love you too. And whenever we'd text or something, that was always what it was.
Did you go home that evening?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you go home?
I didn't want to go home without Barb there.
Where did you go?
I went to my mom's house.
Did you go home the next day?
No,
Where did you go?
my mom's house again.
On that first night you spent at your mom's house, did you sleep?
No,
On the next night at your mom's house, did you sleep?
no,
On the following day, did you go home?
yes,
On the following day, when you were at home, did you have people around you?
yes.
Who was there for you?
Was Jessica, Jordan, Michael, Carlin, Amanda, Lori, my mom. I can't remember who else. There's a whole bunch of people there.
On that next night, did you sleep?
If I did, it was very little.
After her death and before the funeral, did you ever go back to the site where this occurred?
Yes.
Did you go there alone?
No.
With whom did you go?
Amanda, Michael, Jess, and Jordan.
And what was your purpose in going there?
We got a basket, a wicker basket with some flowers in it. And we just took it over there.
And did you leave it there?
Yes, we did. We over the whole thing on it and left it on the roadside.
The funeral was to be held on Friday.
Yes.
On Thursday, how much sleep had you had?
I don't know, not much.
On Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe you said you had family around. Is that correct?
Yes.
On Thursday, did you leave the home?
Yes, I did.
Why did you leave the home?
I got up in the morning. I went down to a friend of mine's shop. He's got a bunch of woodworking tools there, and we did a bunch of woodworking. And I wanted to make a craft for Barb, for the funeral.
And what was the craft you wanted to make?
It was a 3 foot by 4 foot pine heart. I glued all the boards together, and I cut a big heart out of it. And I painted it black and like distressed it like her hutch at home. And I put a bunch of pictures and a poem with her handprint on it.
You said like her hutch at home?
I made her a big hutch at home. She found her up to Cranfest one year and asked if I could make her one, so I made one for her.
And how far along were you on that project when you received the phone call?
I don't remember. I've been working on it for probably 3 hours.
What were you like that morning?
I couldn't tell you. I probably shouldn't have been running power tools. It was the first time I was alone.
Were you crying?
I cried a lot.
Do you find it difficult to cry in front of other people?
I do.
We all heard the recording of the phone conversation between you and Investigator Ye. After you received this phone call, what did you do?
I shut everything off, got in the car, and drove down there.
When you walked into the interrogation room, you said something about not having taken your medication. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
What medication were you taking?
Appraisal.
And had that been prescribed for you?
Yes.
And what did that do for you?
It's supposed to, like, calm me down and not make me so, it's kind of like a, I don't know what they call it.
Is it what's called an anti-anxiety
Anxiety, yeah.
medication?
Yeah.
And did you take that? Is that what you took after you entered the interrogation room?
Yes.
Now, in the film that we saw of that, one could see your legs shaking. Do you
Yes.
recall that?
Yes, I do.
Is that something that was unique to that day?
No, it's not.
Can you explain to the jury about that?
My, I don't know if it's called restless leg syndrome or what it is, but if you watch our son Jordan, our daughter Jessica, if you watch my brother John or his kids, I think our whole family does it. Sometimes it's a little more distinct than others, but we've always done it. And it's just, I don't do it now, but we do. I mean, we've always done it.
When you say don't do it now, are you on medication?
Yes, I am.
Have you been on medication since Barb's death?
Yes, I have.
And what is that medication?
I don't recall what it is right offhand.
Is it also an anti-anxiety drug?
Yes, but I have to take it daily.
And since you've been taking it, has it calmed your leg?
It has calmed my leg, yes.
during the interrogation of you, there came a point when you were asked about Barb's clothing on that day. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 206. Do you want to take that up and hold it up and take a look at it? Do you recognize that?
Yeah.
Now, that isn't Barb's shirt.
No,
Is that like the one she was wearing on that day?
this is their Friday shirt.
And is that what she was wearing that Friday?
Yes.
And when you were asked about that shirt, do you recall that you said, "Are you insinuating that I had something to do with Barb's death?" Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
Is that the first time that it occurred to you that someone might be thinking that?
It occurred to me, yes, but yes, it is the first time.
While you were being interrogated, you were told that search warrants were being executed at your home.
Yes.
And while you were being interrogated, you were being told that they were finding bills at your home.
Yes.
On that day, was there anything about your bills that you thought you needed to hide from anyone?
No.
Anything about your bank records that you thought you needed to hide?
No.
Has there ever been anything about your bills or bank records that you thought you needed to hide from anyone?
No.
Eventually, did you learn that the police had searched your computer?
Yes.
Anything on your computer that you thought you needed to hide?
No.
Eventually, did you learn that the police had searched your cell phone?
Yes.
Anything on that that
No.
you thought you needed to hide?
No.
Eventually, you learned, or did you learn, that the police had searched Barbara's cell phone?
Yes.
Was there anything that you might have texted her that you thought you needed to hide?
No.
Did you learn that all of your automobiles were searched?
Yes. I offered to let them search my one at the courthouse.
And were you concerned that there was anything that needed to be hidden?
No.
Did you learn that the police searched your email?
Yes.
Is there anything about your email about which you were or are concerned?
No.
Did you learn that the police eventually searched your Facebook account?
Yes.
And is there anything on that Facebook account about which you were or are worried?
No.
If the police searched all of your text messages, would they find any evidence of any dispute between you and your wife?
No.
Would they see texts between the two of you in which each of you said to the other, "I love you too"?
Yes.
Mr. Kendhammer, I noticed on your left hand you wear a wedding ring.
Yes.
Is that yours and Barb's wedding ring?
Yes.
Why do you continue to wear it?
I'm married to Barb.
After Barb passed away, there was organ donation. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did you give permission for the organ donation?
Yes.
Is the organ donation something about which you and Barb had talked with one another prior to her death?
Long prior to, yes.
And tell me about that discussion. When did it occur?
I couldn't tell you when it was. It was years prior. We had talked about it.
And in that discussion, did Barb express to you her desire one way or the other to have or not have organ donation?
We had both talked about it, yes. Barb was always, ever since I've met Barb, she's always been the person to help the next person, or the person to help that chicken or that horse or donkey or whatever it might be. Put the chickens in the garage every winter was something that we did every year. She didn't want the chickens. They were 9 years old. We had 2 left, and she didn't want to be out in the cold, so we'd make little crates for them and put chips in there, and we'd put them in the garage every winter. And that's just the person that she was. She always wanted to help the next person or the next animal.
And so what was her decision about organ donation?
To be a donor.
And so did you have to give your consent for
Yes.
her organs to be donated?
Yes.
Is that why you gave your consent?
Yes.
Did you love Barb?
Yes.
Did you love her on September 16 of last year?
Yes, I still do.
Did you ever do anything to physically hurt Barb?
No, I never have ever done anything to my wife.
Have you ever lost your temper with her?
No, never ever lost my temper with Barb.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley.
Thank you.
Your Honor, could I have just a 5-minute break before we start?
Mr. Grinke, you may begin your cross-examination.
Thank you. Mr. Kendhammer, the morning of September 16th, while you were still at the accident scene, you spoke with Officer Wickland first, correct?
No,
You spoke with Officer Leffelholtz. The first sheriff's deputy was Officer Wickland.
correct.
And you told him that you were driving to Holman, correct?
Yes,
And you also talked to Sergeant Ely that day, and you told him that you were driving to Holman, correct?
correct,
And you gave him the name of Justin Heim, and it was a guy you worked with at Crown, correct?
correct.
You also told your son, Jordan, that the reason you were driving that way was you were driving to Holman, correct?
I don't remember that.
You told Investigator Leinfelder in the interview that we watched that you were driving to Holman, and again you mentioned Justin Heim, correct?
I believe I mentioned Justin Heim.
You weren't driving all the way to Holman, though, were you?
No,
You said the keys were in the truck at the end of the driveway, correct?
I did.
You said you did work for him all the time, correct?
I did.
And you said you had just called him a month before, correct?
I don't recall if I said that or not.
Those were all lies, weren't they?
No,
They weren't true, were they?
no.
Justin never needed a windshield from you, did he?
Justin said he needed a windshield in the lunchroom at Crown one day, yes.
Did Justin Heim personally need a windshield from you?
Justin Heim was going to purchase a windshield for me, yes.
When you were informed that Justin Heim was talked to and didn't back up your story, you then said it was his friend who needed the windshield, right?
I don't recall if I said that or not.
You remember watching the video here with the police?
I watched several videos, yes.
Do you remember telling them that it was his friend who lived somewhere else, it wasn't Justin Heim himself?
I may have said that, yes.
You did say that, didn't you?
I don't recall for sure if that's how I worded it or not.
Well, the police then found Ben Paff, correct?
Yes.
Ben Paff did not need a windshield from you, right?
No.
And now today you have a third story, right?
No. I have the second story.
You told police first that you were going to Holman to Justin Himes' house, correct?
Yes.
Justin Himes didn't need a windshield and wasn't even home that day. You then said you were driving to his friend's house, right?
No.
You never said that.
No. Not that I recall.
Okay. Well, it wasn't Justin Himes or Ben Paff. Now it's somebody named Jerry Logan.
Yes. It was that all along.
Well, it's not what you said, though, is it?
No, it's not.
You said that you were driving to look for a truck, but you really had no idea where the truck actually was.
I had an idea where it was, yes.
Did you ever talk to Jerry Logan about his truck?
No.
Do you know where Jerry Logan lives?
Not exactly, no.
So you were driving around looking for a person that you hadn't talked to and don't know where he lives, right?
Correct.
On a day that Barbara has to go to work.
Correct.
You said to the police you drove around Thursday night, too, looking for it, right?
I said that.
You said you went to Holman and up to Mindoro, right?
I said that, yes.
That wasn't true, was it?
No.
You never drove anywhere Thursday night, right?
I drove home from work.
After that, you never drove anywhere, right?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if you drove anywhere Thursday night?
No, I do not.
Do you remember telling the police you did?
Yes.
Did you?
I don't recall if I drove anywhere Thursday night after I got home from work. I went to the Michael and Jessica's house after work, and then I recall I went home, but I don't recall if I went anywhere after that.
Where would you have driven?
We go for rides all the time.
Did you?
I don't recall if I did or not.
Well, that was another lie, wasn't it?
It was not a lie.
You were telling the police a story that they would go chasing, and you couldn't explain why you were driving north, correct?
At that time, I could not explain no.
For 3.5 hours, they told you that story didn't make any sense, and you still kept saying the same thing, right?
Yes.
3.5 hours, you never brought up, maybe I don't remember, maybe it was a guy named Logan. You stuck to that story, right?
There was another, yes.
You even told them, I'm 100% of my story, right?
Yes.
You told the police from the very start that Barb worked at 8:30, right?
I did tell him that, yes.
You lied about that too, right?
I didn't lie.
She didn't work at 8:30, right?
There were mornings she started at 8:30.
She was supposed to work that day at 8,
Yes.
right? You said a typical day off for you, you would drive her to work, right?
Correct.
You'd get up with her, get her water together, right?
Yes.
Then you'd call her to work, or you'd drive her to work, right?
Yes.
And in September, that entire school year so far, every day was 8 o'clock, right?
Yes.
There was no 8:30 time in there, right?
Nope.
And she couldn't just not show up at 8:30, right? She'd have to call.
If she's going to be significantly late, yeah.
Can you identify which day that falls she worked at 8:30?
No, I can't recall.
Well, there aren't any, are there?
There was days that she started late.
Would you like to see her time records again?
I don't need to, no.
Well, just to make sure. Let's. Exhibit 75 and 76. I'm showing you Exhibit 76. These are work records. Apologize, Your Honor. 76 is her work records from that September. Can you show me a day in there where she worked at 8:30?
Well, I can't show you a day that she worked at 8:30, no.
Good. Thank you.
But I can also, okay, we'll just leave it at that, yeah, thank you.
You know that her work called at 8:02. You heard that testimony, right?
Yes,
They knew she had to be work at 8, right?
yes,
Is it possible Barb just didn't know for the first time that year she had to work at 8:30 instead of 8?
no,
She knew she had to be there at 8, right?
yeah,
And at about 5 minutes to 8, the two of you were driving north on County M, right?
correct,
And she didn't call into work, did she?
no,
She would have been late, and she knew it.
yes,
She wasn't able to call because she wasn't physically able to call, correct?
she would have been able to call, yes,
Well, you'd already heard her at that time, hadn't you?
nope, I did not hurt Barb,
Her purse was all located in the back seat on the seat, correct?
correct,
She couldn't have called if she wanted to. She couldn't even reach her phone.
she could have reached her phone,
In the back seat?
sure,
Do you have a reason why she wouldn't call in when she knows she's got to work at 8 and there's no way she's going to make it by 8?
I don't have a reason,
That would be out of character for her, wouldn't it?
yes,
She was a punctual worker,
yes,
worked on time all the time.
yes,
If she was late, she'd call in.
yes,
On the day that she died, she didn't do the one thing that she always did.
yes.
You don't find that odd?
I find a lot of things odd, yes.
You have no explanation for that, though.
I do not have an explanation for that, no.
She worried a little bit about her mom's health, correct?
Correct,
She even wanted Joyce to move in with you, correct?
correct,
According to Barb's phone records, it looked like she called her mother almost every morning on the way to work. Is that right?
almost every morning, yes,
In September, for a couple of weeks straight there, it looked like she called on her way to work because she talked for 5-10 minutes.
correct,
And it was about 7:45 every morning.
yes,
You called Joyce that morning at 7:22 a.m., right?
yes.
And the phone call lasted 50 seconds. Did you talk to her directly or leave a message?
I talked to her directly,
And if Miss Adams said she didn't get a call, she'd be wrong?
yes,
That was a short phone call compared to normal, right?
yes,
And even though Barb was a passenger in the vehicle, she didn't call her mom that morning,
no,
right?
no, she didn't.
Another thing that on the day she died, she didn't do that was normal, right?
What's that?
Call her mother, talk to 10 minutes.
There's several mornings that I've called her mother instead of her.
Can I get to 48, please? Kendhammer, Exhibit 48 was the chart of the phone calls that Barb made to her mother on the work days, the weekdays in September. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And every day that wasn't Labor Day or Friday and Saturday, she called her mother, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
The time range was around 7:45, give or take 5 minutes. Am I right about that?
Yes,
And the times ranged from 7 to 10 minutes.
yes. 5 to 10 minutes.
On Friday the 16th, she not only didn't call her mother at 7:45, she also didn't call work when she was going to be late. You have no explanation for that, do you?
No, I do not.
Did she always keep her purse in the back seat on the seat
Usually, yes.
with her phone in it so she couldn't reach it?
I'm assuming so. I don't know where she had her phone all the time.
Well, you gave her a ride every morning, you said, when you were home and she was working.
Yes.
When you gave her a ride, wasn't she having the phone with her, talking to her mom?
No, not when I was with her. Usually she wouldn't have her phone with her.
Would she keep it close to her?
I don't know. I don't know where she kept her phone.
Okay. You had talked about having no stress in your marriage. You were about to change work schedules on that Friday night, correct?
Correct.
When did you know about that change?
Month before, 2 months before.
Your son thought you had the weekend free, correct?
Correct.
Barb also thought you had the weekend free?
No.
Weren't you already in trouble at work for calling in sick too much?
No.
Didn't you have 5 points against you at work
I had 4 points against me at work.
for calling in sick?
Yes.
So you were getting in trouble for calling in sick to work?
I would have got a verbal yes.
Okay. Well, I just asked you. You were getting in trouble for calling in sick too much to work.
I hadn't yet, no.
Well, you're about to if you called in sick one more time.
Yes, I was about to.
Friday night, you were going to call in sick anyways
Correct.
and risk a warning.
Yes.
Instead of taking the free day that you could have had, right?
Correct.
She didn't like you working nights and weekends, did she?
She didn't care for it, no.
And now instead of camping, you were going to either work or have to call in sick and either miss camping or get one more point against you at work, right?
Correct.
And you said you switched shifts because you wanted to help a guy out. Is that right?
Correct.
Isn't it true that you had a problem with the guy on first shift?
A lot of people have a problem with somebody on first shift.
Were you one of the people that had a problem with the person on first shift?
I have a problem with him, yes.
And that's why you switched shifts. It was your idea, right?
Part of it, yes.
Okay. Well, you left that out in your direct exam. I wanted to be complete.
Okay.
When you said that you were going camping that weekend and you said you were going to use that money for camping. Remember that?
Yes.
Why didn't you need money for camping?
We didn't.
You said that you were going to use that money for camping.
Yes. We would have used it.
You said that Barb was the one responsible for bills.
Yes.
Did you have some unpaid bills in your vehicle?
No. I had one, I'm sorry. It wasn't in my vehicle, I don't think, though.
What was that one?
Allied Electric.
And how much did you owe Allied Electric?
I think it was $4,000.
Did you also have a conversation on Thursday by text message with Barbara about another unpaid bill?
From Best Kept.
Yes.
Yep.
And Barb sent you a photo of a note, and the text message said, "Nice!" exclamation points, right?
Yes.
And the bill was from January 16th,
Yes.
and this was September 15th,
Yes.
and the bill hadn't been paid.
It had been paid. It was a cash pay. They forgot to mark it paid.
Did the note to them say, "Todd, how about a little communication on why this is not getting paid"?
Yes.
Sounded like they weren't having ability to reach you. From
They-
January to September?
What's that?
From January to September?
Yes.
It's your position that that bill was already paid.
Yes.
You were flipping houses, and was there a problem with the last house you flipped selling on time?
No.
Did the cost more than you thought?
No.
Didn't you have to use some credit cards because you weren't paying the house on time?
We did some work in the basement of it, is why we did.
You had been fired previously by A1 Glass,
Correct.
and you had left Glass Service Center because it was too hard work for them?
It was, what's that?
You left Glass Service Center because it was too hard to work for 4 bosses at once?
Yes.
And you were in your own business, but you left because of business differences?
Yes.
Do things have to be your way?
No.
Were you concerned, or was Barb concerned that once again at Crown you were going to have to leave because you're having difficulties with people?
No.
That you're going to have to change your schedule because you're having difficulties with people?
No.
When the police noted scratches on your neck, you first said that that was from working with glass, correct?
I said that, yes.
You don't work with glass at Crown, do you?
No.
And you work with windshields, but that's not the same as working with broken glass, right? I assume when you install windshields, you're not getting scratched up from broken glass.
It depends how bad it's broken.
Well, were these scratches from glass?
No. Not from glass doing at home.
You said it was from working with glass.
Correct, I said that.
That was a lie.
It wasn't a lie.
It was not true.
It was not true.
The scratches were from her trying to get you off of her, weren't they?
Nope.
The two of you were fighting and she was scratching your neck?
Nope.
She was scratching your neck, her her nail broke. Looks like a fight, doesn't it?
No.
Not at all?
Well, it might look like it, but it wasn't.
You said that you had to, in the police interview, you had to drag her out of the car. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
You also said that she rolled out at first, but you put her back in. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
You said that the door kept closing. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
If you're standing between the passenger door and the car when it's open, you'd be facing Barbara on the seat. The door would be behind you, right?
Beside me, yes.
Wouldn't it just be easy to just keep the door on your back, hold it open, and attend to Barb?
A lot of things would have been easy.
Well, that would have been easy, right?
I can't say that.
Well, you could keep the door open pretty easily with your behind, right? Right?
You could, yes.
And you said she first rolled out, but you had to put her back in to get the pipe out of the way, right?
Yes.
How was the pipe in the way?
I don't remember how it was in the way. It was hanging in the way.
In the way of what? What was in the way of?
The pipe was hanging through the windshield,
Yeah?
down past by the seat,
Yeah? What was in the way of?
getting Barb out of the car.
Okay. The pipe wasn't lodged in the windshield solid, was it? It was loose.
Yes.
You could just take that pipe and just slide it back out from the inside and attend to Barb, right?
In a perfect world, yes.
Well, in any world, right? In this world.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Why wouldn't it be easy in this world to slide the pipe out and attend to her?
I wasn't thinking that.
Well,
I don't
is it-
know. I mean, the door wouldn't stay open, and I was trying to contend with her, and
She was unconscious?
at that point, yes.
It wouldn't have been easy to just pick her up and move her out, would it?
It wasn't, no,
Why wasn't it easy?
because something was caught on her.
What was caught on her?
I don't know what it was.
Well, there wasn't anything down by her feet, was there?
Something down there was caught on her, yes.
The only thing in the photos is her shoe.
Okay.
Well, what would have been caught on her then?
I don't, something was caught on her.
For speculation, asked and answered.
Overruled.
You don't know?
I don't know.
One of her shoes was left in the vehicle, and the other shoe was behind you, next to the car, right?
Yes.
Were they kicked off in a struggle outside the car?
No.
Did it look like scuff marks from a shoe on the side of the car to you?
I didn't see it.
You saw the pictures.
Yes, I did.
Did you throw one shoe back in the car and couldn't find the other shoe because it was so far behind you?
No.
Well, you didn't drag her out over that seat, did you? The passenger seat? Did you pick her up or drag her out?
I kind of pulled her out.
Pulled her out? You saw the dirt on the side of the passenger seat, right?
Yes.
Didn't look disturbed, did it?
No.
Now, you said to the police that a pipe came off the truck. Do you remember that?
I did say that, yes.
You said it a number of times, didn't you?
I did, yes.
You actually said that you saw it as it came off the truck, right?
I did one time, yes.
You said it rolled off the truck, right?
I thought so, yes.
Now, today you said you didn't know what it was until after it hit the car, right?
Yes.
You thought it might be a bird at first?
Yeah.
Did you think a bird would come through the windshield?
No.
You wouldn't have to hit your fist at the windshield for a bird, would you?
No.
If you didn't know what it was until after it was in the car, why would you need to hit the windshield?
Because I did say at one point that it was a pipe.
Well, you said at one point, but did you see a pipe coming at you through the air?
I did yes, I did see a pipe coming.
At what point?
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember.
It went pretty fast, right?
Yes.
And if at first you didn't even recognize it, you had even less time to react, right?
Yes.
And you motioned on direct examination of how you punched the windshield, and you motioned with your left arm across your body up towards the windshield, right?
That's how I thought it was, yes.
But you had marks on all 8 knuckles of your fist, right?
Yes.
And injury to your thumb, right?
Yes.
You think reaching over your body, you wouldn't just hit the back of your hand?
I don't know.
Well, it's because it didn't happen, right?
Yes, it did happen.
You punched the windshield with enough force that quick because you thought you saw a pipe coming at the windshield.
Yes,
And you didn't react in front of you or reach out for Barb, you punched the windshield
yes,
with both hands.
with one hand for sure.
Well, how the injuries get on the other hand then?
I don't know. I don't remember.
From punching Barb?
No,
Not from punching the windshield.
it's not from punching Barb.
It's not from punching the windshield either.
I don't know what it's from.
You're the only one there, Mr. Kendhammer.
Well, I said in one interview I thought I hit it with both hands.
Okay. You let go of the wheel.
If I hit it with both hands, I had to have, yes.
You said you didn't hit the brakes.
I don't remember hitting the brakes, no.
You didn't lose control of the car.
I don't remember losing control of the car, no.
And after that, you must have hit the brakes to make the turn on a Bergen Coulee, right?
Yes,
You drove for a little ways on Highway M before Bergen Coulee, right?
yes.
You didn't lock up the brakes, did you?
I don't recall.
Did you see any skid marks on the road? Do you remember locking up the brakes?
I do not remember.
While we're on that topic, your memory seems to fade at certain parts, Mr. Kendhammer, and be solid in other parts.
Okay?
Is it possible you're making this entire story up?
No,
It's not possible.
no.
When you made the right-hand turn, you then put your foot back on the gas?
I don't recall.
Well, you'd have had to go another 300 feet, right?
Well, it's a downhill slope, I think.
You were coasting.
I don't recall.
You would have had to put your foot on the gas to go another 300 feet, right?
I don't recall.
You must have put the foot on the brake to make it stop, right?
I don't recall that either.
Well, logic would say you'd have to, right? It's not
It doesn't have to. I don't recall if I did or not.
How did you get it into reverse without hitting the foot on the brake?
I don't know if I put my foot on the brake. I don't remember.
You put it in reverse, the car would start going backwards, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And you didn't just put your foot on the brake, you just let it drift backwards?
I don't recall if I put my foot on the brake.
Okay. Now, the car's drifting backwards, and you're just letting it drift backwards, is that right?
I apparently thought it was in park because I must have went to get out or pulled the wheel. I don't know.
Why'd you turn the wheel to the right?
I have no idea.
Did she turn the wheel to the right to try to get out?
No.
You must have turned the wheel to the right to end up backwards in the ditch.
Yep.
Don't know why you did that.
No.
Because you're lying and you can't keep your story straight?
No.
It's hard to make up facts, isn't it?
No.
Once you're back in the ditch, then you did move the car into park, right?
I don't recall if it was in park or not.
Well, it was in park when the police got there.
But I don't know if it was when the first responder got there.
Okay. When did you touch the rearview mirror to put a bloody fingerprint on it?
I don't know when I did.
Was it knocked because the two of you were fighting and you had to straighten it out?
No.
You said you got a bruise on your leg from jumping over the gear shifter, right?
That's what I thought it was, yes.
When did you jump over the gear shifter?
I didn't jump over it, I jumped into it.
At one point you said you were more on her side than your side.
Okay.
Were you?
I don't recall.
Of course not.
Objection to the comment.
Sustained.
You did not see Randy Erler drive by?
No.
You did not hear him drive by?
No.
Did not hear a truck going past your car?
No.
You told police that nobody would stop for you.
They wouldn't.
Well, he would have if you called. Right?
Okay. If I would have seen him drive by, I definitely would have called.
You said you were hollering and hollering for help, right?
When the first responder went by, yes.
Well, before that you weren't. Mr. Erler didn't hear anything.
I don't think Mr. Early would have heard it with his windows up.
He said his windows were down.
Okay. I don't know what time Mr. Early went by.
Well, he said between 8:02 to 8:04 he got to his work site, which was only a minute away. He must have got there before you called 911, right?
Maybe, yes.
On the 911 call, you sound pretty frantic.
Yes, I was.
But it took you a couple minutes to do that, right?
Yes, it did.
If you were talking on the phone that way, likely Mr. Erler would have heard that, right?
Yes.
He didn't, though, because were you keeping her down the ditch and trying to shut her up?
No.
You didn't have an arm across her throat causing a fracture to the cricoid?
No.
You didn't have your finger across her lips causing bruises on the inside of her lips?
No.
But you just didn't hear Mr. Erler drive by?
No.
Help was 5 feet away and you had no idea?
No.
And he didn't see anybody and didn't see a crack in the windshield. You heard that?
Yes.
When you first ended up in the ditch, you said the first thing you did was go up behind the car to get to the passenger side. You remember that?
Yes,
Why would you go down the ditch to the back and not just in the front where the road is?
because I would have had to go up the ditch to get out there.
Did you go in the trunk?
I don't remember.
Now there's some grass in the trunk. You saw that.
Yes,
The grass would have been tall there, right?
yes,
Pretty good sign that the trunk was open, right?
yes.
You don't remember.
Nope.
There was some dirt inside the trunk, and it looked like something like the pipe had been dragged out over the back of the trunk. Remember that?
I do, yes.
Pipe was in the trunk.
Okay.
You went in the trunk to get the pipe.
I did not go in the trunk to get the pipe.
You went in the trunk for some other reason?
I didn't say I went in the trunk. I don't recall if I went in the trunk.
There'd be no reason other than getting a pipe out. Is there?
I can't tell you that.
Because you got the pipe out.
I did not get the pipe out of the trunk.
You took her out first, and I think you said you fell backwards, so her head would be facing away from the road, correct?
Yes,
That area would have been relatively flat, correct?
I think so.
You started doing CPR right away, right?
Yes.
When the car first went backwards, why didn't you first feel for a pulse or attend to her, try to stop the bleeding or call 911? Why was your first reaction to get her out of the car?
Because she was bent over.
Did you straighten her up?
No,
Why not?
because I didn't know the extent of her injuries.
So you just decided to yank her out of the car instead?
It was a pretty good adrenaline rush. And I don't think I was, I wanted to get her out of the vehicle.
Wouldn't the first thing to see where the injury is or to see if she's safe or if she's even hit?
I didn't do that.
You didn't do that because it didn't happen, right?
It did happen.
Now she's on a relatively flat spot facing away from the road. Why would you have to spin her around to face up the road to do CPR?
Because her head was downhill.
Her chest was flat?
She was tipped downhill.
You moved her to an incline. The first responder said like a 35-degree incline.
Yes,
Why didn't you just move her up to the road where it's flat?
I couldn't get her up there by myself.
You weren't that strong?
I don't know if I could have or not.
Mr. Mishulin said you had adrenaline-fueled superhuman strength to punch a windshield, but you couldn't move your wife up to the road.
I maybe could have.
Well, you didn't try, did you?
I did not try to move her to the road, no.
At that time, you still hadn't called 911. It took you a couple of minutes to call 911
I had called 911 at that time.
at the time you moved her.
Yes,
When you took the pipe out of the window, you threw it behind the car. There's no reason to do that, is there?
I don't know. I don't know why it is.
Mr. Kendhammer, isn't it true that you punched her, broke her nose,
No,
caused bruises on her face?
no.
There's blood on both your knuckles, right?
It's not from punching my wife.
There's scratches on your neck, right?
Yes, there was.
She had a broken nail, right?
Yes, she did.
I noticed when we look at photographs from the scene, you weren't wearing wedding ring that day, were you?
I was.
In the photographs from the scene, it wasn't on you.
I took it off
Why would you do that?
because it was bleeding. I didn't know if my fingers were going to swell up.
You were worried about that instead of your wife?
It was when I was standing there waiting to get to my wife.
She had scratches on her neck too, right?
Yes, she did.
You were strangling her at some point, weren't you?
No,
You had your mouth over her lips.
no.
You didn't want her screaming for help when Mr. Earl went by.
I did not have my nothing over her lips.
It was after Mr. Earl went by that you called 911, right?
I don't know that.
Well, the first call to 911 was 9:05, right?
No,
It wasn't?
no.
First call, 8:05, I'm
8:05 or
sorry.
something.
8:05. Mr. Earl said he went by at 8:02 to 8:04.
And I don't know what time the first call was for sure.
Okay. There was no blood in the passenger window, right?
I don't know.
You saw the pictures.
I did see pictures, yes.
There's no blood in the back of her seat, right?
I don't we're on the back of the seat.
Back of her seat?
Yes, there was. I think there was blood on the back of her seat.
Not on her headrest.
Maybe not on her headrest.
There were bruises on her hand, right?
Yes, there was a bruise on her hand.
Bruises on her arms,
Yes,
her legs too.
yes.
Did you break that mug on the windshield, trying to break the windshield out?
No, I did not.
Is that why the mug was on the driver's side floor?
No,
Is that why the mug was broken?
no.
It's really hard to hit the window where it was hit from your seat as you're driving, isn't it?
I don't know that. What do you mean, from the inside?
Yes. Reaching over your body with your left hand and cocking your wrist and punching it upwards.
I can't answer that.
There was no glass or dirt in the mat pocket of the passenger door, right?
Correct.
There were a number of times where you tried to manipulate the police, didn't you?
Explain, manipulate.
Well, you were lying about her work schedule, right?
No,
You said a number of times she had to be at work at 8:30. You never said 8,
no,
even though you knew every other day she worked at 8.
yes,
Never once mentioned that, did you?
no,
You hoped they wouldn't check it out.
no, I didn't.
You were vague about where the pipe came in and what it did because it never happened that way, right?
It did happen that way, to the best of my knowledge.
You described a flatbed truck as a 2000 truck era, dark color, not white, pocket size, 8 inches to 2 feet. That sounds pretty detailed, doesn't it?
It does sound detailed.
You thought more detail would make your lie more believable.
I was trying to help.
Trying to help by sending the police on a wild goose chase?
No, not sending them on a wild goose chase.
You were just setting up your story at that point, weren't you?
No,
You were right away saying you were going to Holman to talk to Justin Hine, right?
I believe right away I said I didn't remember.
In the first interviews that day, you were already saying Holman and Justin Hine, right?
In the first ones, yes.
Well, and in the last ones, right? Not until today we heard anything else.
Well, yes.
When did you first realize that you weren't going to see Justin Hine and Holman?
A week after.
Week after the incident?
Yeah,
They talked to you on
I watched.
September 22nd?
They talked to me on the. Who talked to me?
Sergeant Yaley and Investigator Leinfelder?
They talked to me on the Thursday before,
The
or
week-
Thursday of the accident. Yeah,
And a week later, you realized you made some mistakes?
I didn't realize that I made mistakes. I realized that I had different stories.
Well, because you knew at that point they talked to Justin Hine and that story wasn't going to work.
No, that wasn't why.
That morning, when you said you were working you were working by yourself, right, in a wood shop?
Yes,
And you had Jordan's phone with you, right?
correct.
Jordan wasn't with you, though.
Not at that time, no.
And you came down to the sheriff's department alone, right?
Yes,
And still had Jordan's phone, right?
yes.
At 8:45 that morning, they called you, right?
I don't recall what time it was.
Well, in the recording, Sergeant Yaley says it's 8:45.
Okay,
At 8:52, you called Justin Hine.
I did not call Justin Hine.
You sure?
Positive. I'm Can I say something to add to that or not?
There's no question right now.
Okay.
You don't have these records, do you? Clarify one second. I'd like to see them before. Can I take a radio there? Yeah. I'd like to see them before I read the regulation. This is all we have. This is all we have. This is the morning of the call. Just get the report from Justin Hine.
question, Mr. Kendhammer?
Go ahead.
Well, let's make sure we got the right number. Maybe I'm wrong. 790-5347.
That's Jordan's phone, correct?
Okay. So I'm handing you Exhibit 150. And can you read the top number there? It says call records from.
790-5347.
Okay. And there's 2 highlighted calls. Do you see them?
Yes, I do.
And what's the number that's dialed?
Well, have we received this? Object to reading from a document we've not received.
You identify those as Jordan's cell phone number, right?
Overruled.
You're not asking the admission of Exhibit 150.
Object foundation.
You identify them as Jordan's phone number.
Understand. I don't know where the document's from.
Me and Jim will take a short break here, and we'll talk about the case. We'll probably be about up to 10 minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there was an objection, and that's been resolved. So, Mr. Greenkey, you can continue with your cross.
Mr. Kendhammer, do you remember calling Justin Heim on September 22nd?
No, I do not.
Do you remember getting a call back from him on September 22nd?
No, I do not.
Would there be any reason for you to call him that day?
No, there would not be.
During the interview that was conducted with Investigator Leinfelder and Sergeant Yaley, they challenged your story about where you were driving that day. Do you remember that?
Yes.
A number of times they kept telling you that it didn't make any sense that you would be driving around looking for Justin Heim's house, right?
Correct.
You got mad at them when they challenged that story, right?
I don't believe I got mad at them, no.
You acted insulted that they would be challenging your story?
I may have, yes.
You said you wouldn't change your story, it's 100% true?
Yes,
You said you wouldn't snap?
correct.
But now we know they were right to question that story about Justin Heim because it wasn't true.
Correct.
Were you trying to act insulted so that they might believe your story?
No,
You didn't call them after the interview to say you remembered something else, or maybe that wasn't true, maybe now you know where you're going, nothing like that?
no,
You never acted confused or you couldn't remember where you were going. You seemed pretty adamant that that's exactly where you were going, right?
I had, I think I gave, no, that was right for the, yes.
Were you hoping they just wouldn't check up on things like Justin Heim or your wife's work schedule?
No,
You said you even went back to the scene a few times to try to remember before the police interview what happened.
I didn't go back to remember.
Can you tell the police that you were trying to go back so you can remember things?
We went back to take a basket there.
Even when the police pointed out to you that your story couldn't be true because you talked to Justin Heim, you still didn't remember where you had been driving that morning.
Correct.
And today you say that you were trying to find the house of Mr. Logan.
Correct.
How did you know it was a blue truck?
I've seen him pull the race car with that truck before.
Have you spoken to him personally about his windshield?
I have not.
Would he know that you were coming that day to look?
No, he would not have.
How would you have taken his truck and driven it back to your house if he didn't even know you were coming?
I would have knocked on his door.
Well, you said you would just take it because the keys were in it, right?
I did say that, yes.
You hadn't negotiated a price, though, right?
No,
And you said he would just come to your house to pick it back up and leave money on your deck.
that's how I've done windshields before.
He wouldn't have known that, right?
No,
And you said numerous times it was somebody that you've dealt with before and had done work for him before.
correct.
Have you done work for Mr. Logan before?
No,
Did you change your story for trial because you knew the police had figured out your lies?
no.
When was the conversation that Mr. Logan might have a truck that needs a windshield?
In the lunchroom at Crown.
When?
I can't recall when.
The day before, the week before,
No, it was,
months?
I don't recall. It wasn't a day or a week.
More than months?
It wasn't more than months, no. Month, maybe. I can't recall for sure.
And this Friday, why would it be so important that morning to go out and look for it if you don't even know where you're looking or if he even needs a windshield?
Because it was a spur of the moment. We walked out to get in the car and talked about it, and we're on our way back out the road, we were talking about it.
Why would you talk about something that was months old on the way to her work?
We always talked.
Why would you talk about this?
I have no idea.
Why wouldn't you take her to work and then go driving around looking for a truck?
I don't know that either.
In the interview, at one point, do you remember the investigators trying to ask you how you got her out of the car? And you said you don't think it was nice?
Yes.
And they were trying to ask you how you grabbed her. Was it by an arm and a leg? How exactly it happened? Do you remember that?
I do, yes.
Your response was, I've never ever in 28 years never touched her or grabbed her or raised my voice with her, and I was mad at myself for some reason. What were you mad at yourself about?
How I pulled her out of the car and fell with her.
Well, how does that raise the idea of domestic violence in 28 years, never touching her, grabbing her, raising your voice?
I may have, I don't know.
At that point in the interview, nobody had suggested that you hurt her or they were even suspecting you. That came from you first.
How far into the interview was that?
Half hour?
I don't know.
Is it because you had a guilty conscience?
No.
Is it because you were mad at her for what you did to her?
No.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Grinke. Really, anything else?
Mr. Kendhammer, do you recall Mr. Grunke asking you, I think you said that you spoke with Officer Wicklund first?
Correct, yes.
And you said no.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
With whom did you speak first?
The first responder.
You were asked questions about your various interviews and where you were going that day.
Correct.
You recall that?
Yes.
And do you recall listening to those recordings in the courtroom?
I do, yes.
And there were many places that you said that day?
Yes.
Did you say Shufflebine Hill among them?
Yes, I did.
And is that, in fact, where you were headed that day?
Yes, it is.
You were asked about when Barb normally went to work. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And do you recall Mr. Grunke saying you couldn't show him a day when Barb went to work at 8:30?
Yes.
But you testified that there were days she went to work at 8:30.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
If you had, I'll withdraw it. Do you recall Mr. Grunke asking you about the fact that you were going to switch to nights to work,
Yes.
and that Barb didn't care for that?
Correct.
Was the decision to switch to nights to work one made in consultation with Barb?
Yes.
And as far as you knew, did she approve of that?
Yes.
He said that Mr. Grunke, in questioning you, questioned whether, in fact, you were truly doing this to help out somebody with two small kids. Is that the primary reason that you were doing it?
Yes, that's the primary reason.
And what's the name of that person?
Brett Bagstead.
You were asked about an Allied electric bill, is that correct?
Correct.
You said you had an outstanding bill of $4,000. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
And what was that for?
It was for some work that was, when we accepted an offer on the home, we had to do some work in the basement. They wanted some stuff finished off.
Okay, so stop right there because you know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure we all do.
Okay,
Was there a spec home that you were building,
yes, there was.
that both you and Barb were building?
Yes.
And at what stage of development was that on September 15 of last, or 16 of last year?
We had had it up for sale. We just put it up for sale.
Okay. When you built spec homes or remodeled homes and sold them, did you accumulate bills with suppliers and subcontractors?
Yes, we did.
And was it your practice to pay those bills after the remodeled or new home was sold?
Yes.
And is that something which you did often at the closing of?
No, we do it after the closing.
After the closing?
Yes.
Is that what you did in every instance?
A lot of them, not everyone.
Now, the Allied Electric bill applied to which home?
The last spec home we did in West Salem.
And when was that sold?
I can't recall. I can find out.
Well, was it sold in 2016?
Yes.
Was it sold before Barb's death?
Yes.
How far before Barb's death?
2 or 3 weeks.
And was the Allied Electric bill one that just had not yet been paid from the closing proceeds?
Right.
And when you got the closing proceeds, was it paid?
It was not.
But what was it eventually paid?
It was not yet, no. It would have been.
And why was it not?
Because I took some of the money from that to get some of Barb's stuff taken care of.
When you say Barb's stuff, do you mean the funeral arrangements?
Yes.
You were questioned about a best-kept bill?
Yes.
What is best-kept?
Portable outhouse thing. Porta potty, portable things.
And what was this a bill from?
He would bring a porta potty to the spec homes.
When you were working on them?
Yes.
And this was the bill for having done that?
It was a bill from the previous one, yes.
And there was at some point in the questioning that you said this was a bill that had in fact been paid.
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury what that was about?
Well, Chuck and Wendy Kaiser. Wendy Kaiser works in the kitchen at the high school in West Salem, and that's Chuck's wife. And then they've got a kid that's working in the business that's still getting involved in their portable business. So we would always work out a deal with Chuck that he would drop an outhouse off for us, and then we'd just pay him cash through Wendy for the outhouse. So we didn't run it through no bills or nothing. Well, this one got ran through a bill, an actual bill mailed, and it was paid cash through Wendy. So it got mixed up coming through, and that's where the mix-up was with it.
And was that straightened out?
Yes, it was.
And had you in fact paid the bill?
Yes, it was.
You were asked about the scratches on your neck and a comment I believe which you made to Officer Amundsen, who was taking pictures of them. Do you recall this questioning?
Yes.
And do you recall Officer Amundsen testifying that you attributed them to working with glass?
Yes.
Now, at the time that Officer Amundsen took those photographs, had you seen the scratches on your neck?
No.
You were asked a number of questions by me and by Mr. Grunke about extracting Barbara from the automobile. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you recall being asked about which direction you walked around the car?
Yes.
Do you recall being asked about why you chose that direction?
Yes.
Did you choose a direction?
I didn't choose any direction. I reacted. That's what I did.
You were asked a lot of questions about why you did certain things at the scene of the accident. Were you reasoning things through in those seconds and minutes?
No,
What were you doing?
reacting.
And why were you reacting? What were you trying to accomplish?
I was trying to help my wife.
Do you recall being asked questions by Mr. Grunke about whether any dirt that was in the car had been disturbed when you helped Barbara get out of the car?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to first show you Exhibit 113. And before I put it up on the screen, I want you to take a good look at it while it's in your hands. See that?
Yep.
Do you see dirt on the passenger seat here?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to hand you a laser pointer. Can you point out where you see the dirt? When you look at that, did it appear to you to be undisturbed or rubbed in?
Objection B. Sustained.
Did it appear to you to be disturbed or undisturbed?
I couldn't tell.
If you go a little bit lower, at this part, you see there?
Yes, I do.
And you see kind of a smudge around here as well?
Yes.
Do you know whether in attempting to extract Barbara from the car, do you recall whether you might have stepped up on the bottom rim of the door?
I don't recall.
When you were administering CPR to Barb, where were you looking?
At Barb's head.
Were you looking at the road?
No.
Were you looking for headlights?
No.
Were you shouting out at that time?
I don't remember.
You were asked a question about whether it was difficult for you to punch upwards into the windshield. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you recall that I asked you on direct examination whether you were sitting in your seat or whether you at all rose out of your seat?
Correct.
And do you recall your answer?
I do not.
Do you recall whether you remember whether you were sitting or whether you might have risen out of your seat?
I don't remember.
When you punched the windshield, do you know whether you did it in an upward punch, whether you were out of your seat and did it straight across, or significantly out of your seat and did it in a downward motion?
I don't know.
When you were questioned at the sheriff's office, was on the day before Barb's funeral, how were you feeling emotionally?
I was very emotional.
And
I hadn't had any sleep.
what was it like to sit there and be asked questions that were suggesting that you had killed your wife?
I honestly left there and was thinking about my wife. I don't think it sunk into me right there. And it did several times, but when I left there, my goal was Barb again.
And here in court today, when you were asked repeatedly whether and how you struck Barb, how does that feel?
It hurts.
Did you ever strike Barbara Kendhammer?
No.
And when you said you were mad at yourself at the time you extracted her from the car, why were you mad?
Because something was caught holding her in the car. And I tried to first take her out nice, and I had to grab around her somehow. I don't remember how exactly, but I had to pull her. I pulled her out of the car. And when I did, we fell.
And were you concerned about whether you had injured her even more?
More, yes.
I have no other questions.
Mr. Greinke, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, at this time, does any juror have a question of Mr. Kendhammer? See some hands? Okay. Right. Mr. Kendhammer, if you can answer these. Question 531 is, did you both get out of your car at the Thompson house that morning?
No, we did not.
534 is, after you took Barb out of the car, did the passenger door stay open or did it close?
The passenger door stayed open.
The second part of that one, which is the same as 532, is why did you drive 300 feet on Bergen Cooley Road, or why did you go 600 feet before stopping?
All I can say to that is it was a reaction. I honestly don't know why I didn't stop immediately. I don't know why I didn't stop immediately. It was a reaction is all I can say.
One more? More? Counsel? So this is 535. last set of juror questions is 535, and if you can answer these, do so, Mr. Kendhammer. Okay, is the call-in policy at Crown to call into the supervisor directly, and if not, what was the call-in policy?
They have a call line that they just put in maybe 3 years ago that you can call into, but the supervisors would prefer you to call to them. So if they want to cover you, like if certain areas they won't cover you for because they'll pull someone else from the plant to fill your position. So they would prefer that you call, it's called the two-piece office. And that's where they'd like you to call so they get a hold of one of the supervisors right away in case they don't listen to the messages to hear that you're not coming in.
When working at Crown, does the company allow you to schedule rest or lunch breaks whenever you desire?
Yes. Crown is being that it runs 24 hours a day, there's 2 supervisors there usually during the day and 1 at night. And there's 2 people that run each decorator. There's 2 people in the spray machines. There's 2 to 4 GLs, and as long as both people aren't gone at the same time from a specific job, yes, you can take your breaks when you want to.
And finally, was there anything in the trunk that could have provided aid to your wife at the time of the accident?
I don't recall what was in the trunk.
Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, don't take any heed of questions I did not ask. What I'll do is have you step out right now for a short break, and about 10 minutes or so, about 10 after, I'll make it, and we'll see where we go from there.